Hello and welcome to another episode of Every Possible Angle. Today, I'm very excited to be joined here by Tara Storch, the co-founder of Taylor's Gift Foundation. And today is a very important conversation. It's a little different from some of the ones we usually have with clinicians and physicians in the transplant space, but it's another angle. It's the part of the donor family side, and I think it's without a doubt one of the most critical parts of the entire transplant journey. So I'd like to start by introducing Tara Storch. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, to start with, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your family?
Yeah, so we live in the Dallas area. I'm married to my college sweetheart. We met at Texas A&M, and we have lived in the Dallas area for, 28 years now. And we have 3 children. We have Taylor, and we have Ryan, and we have Peyton. And we're just a really close family. Our son Ryan is married, and we have a grandbaby and one on the way in a couple weeks. So we're very excited thank you, about how our family's growing. It's very exciting.
And exciting to celebrate new life.
Yeah.
And so Taylor, she was your oldest or middle daughter?
She was our oldest.
Right.
Yeah, she's our oldest.
Oldest. And can you tell me a little bit now about Taylor's story and her journey and how that all brought you into the world of transplantation?
Yeah, so, Taylor's Gift Foundation, which you mentioned earlier, really started from a tragedy from our family. We were on our spring break vacation in Beaver Creek, Colorado, having an incredible time. And it was on that very first day of our vacation. And that last run of the day that Taylor and my husband Todd and my son Ryan wanted to have one last run before the slopes closed. And my little one, Peyton, at the time, she was 9. So Taylor was 13, Ryan was 11, and Peyton was 9 at this time. And so I went down to the bottom of the mountain with Peyton, and we waited and we waited. And little did we know that on that very last run, Taylor had an accident and slid into the trees and hit a tree. And doing everything right, wearing a helmet, great athlete, and it was an accident. She was, shocked our family. She was care flighted to Grand Junction, Colorado. She was supposed to be transported to Denver, but the weather was too bad. And so they transferred her to Grand Junction, Colorado. And I tell you what, these doctors worked on her for a day and a half trying to save her life. They did everything they could. But we kind of got past a point where we knew she was not going to recover. And I remember my husband, and we were told she was not going to recover. And I remember my husband was standing by Taylor's bed, and I was sitting in a couch beside her. I couldn't stand, and we were just holding on to her. And this nurse came in, and she kind of knelt down right beside me, and she just said, "Your daughter's a beautiful candidate for organ donation, and would you consider it?" And we had never talked about organ donation in our family, not even once. I mean, I think I checked my driver's license, right? But it wasn't a conversation in our home. But out of all the decisions we were making, that was the easiest one to say yes to because of the type of child Taylor was. Even talking to her friends today, they would always say Taylor made them feel so seen and acknowledged, and she was so friendly and inclusive. And we just knew that if Taylor would have been asked the question in these final moments, "Sweetie, do you want to save others?" she would have absolutely said yes. And so we said yes on her behalf. And Taylor saved and improved the lives of 5 people with the gift of her heart, both kidneys, pancreas, liver, and she gave sight with her cornea. And that really started a ripple effect of good and a completely different path for our family.
I mean, that is incredible. I mean, and so that moment, it's every parent's nightmare. I have young children.
Yeah.
I have a 13-year-old daughter who's our oldest, who's a big skier, and it's every parent's nightmare to be. I can't even imagine that moment, and to be able to see what Taylor would have wanted and how that would have choice she would have made in that.
Right.
That must be a really hard moment. And it sounded like a moment of clarity for you, but I can't Can you tell me, how did you get to that decision? And was it just immediate that you knew that that was the right thing?
It it really was immediate. I mean, looking back on that moment, we were having to make lots of decisions.
Hmm.
And, when we were approached about this, we both looked at each other and went, absolutely, yes, yes. I mean, there was no like hesitation, question, anything like that.
Right.
And we just knew it was the right thing to do for our family, and that it was something absolutely we had no hesitation that Taylor would have said yes to.
From that moment of organ donation and that experience, you then began the story of Taylor's Gift Foundation. Can you tell me about the genesis of it, how you came up with it, and what did it originally look like?
Yeah. So we really started Taylor's Gift Foundation very quickly after we lost her. And, that really came from us when we came back to Texas from Colorado and started our life over. And now all of a sudden we're a family of four.
Hmm.
I remember my husband sitting on the back porch and talking to me, and he said, I remember when I was little, my grandfather used to say this to me all the time, and it meant nothing to me. But it means everything to me now. And he used to say, Todd, it doesn't matter what happens, it's how you react to it that does. And I mean, please don't get me wrong. Of course it mattered that we lost Taylor. It completely shattered our family, but we knew our reaction was going to be real important. I mean, especially to our other two children. And so we had a choice to cave up in the grief, which was really easy to do, or find the good. And we kind of did a little bit of both. But the good that she saved lives really was kind of the catalyst of starting Taylor's Gift Foundation. And we started it really with the initial purpose of sharing the importance of organ donation and showing people how easy it is to register. But we quickly found out that it's not an easy topic. It's just not an easy topic, right? Because when people think of organ donation, they think of death. But you and I both know it's all about life, is what it's about. And so we wanted to change that conversation. And so we coined the phrase outlive yourself. How do you want to outlive yourself and leave a lasting difference in the lives of others?
I love that.
And that started really changing the conversation. And we had some great partners. We wanted to make that kind of tangible. So we had some great partners join us, like OPI Nail Polish, which is like the Nike of nail polish, created a Taylor blue color for the foundation that went all over the globe, truly. And then, the last 5 years or so, we had Nike partner with us, and they created Outlive Yourself socks. And, it was really cool working with Nike behind the scenes on product development. They were very thoughtful and intentional. The blue on the socks reflect the color of Taylor's eyes. And there's 5 stripes on the socks that give honor to the 5 lives she saves. And on the back, they say
Wow.
outlive yourself. So, those have been absolutely incredible, incredible things. And, we've been blessed with a lot of media to share the story. When we met her heart recipient, that story was on Good Morning America and kind of launched a lot of the work we're doing, and, able to have some great media along the way grow along with us. But along the way, through all the years, we saw this gap of grief support for the donor side, for the donor family. And this really came sparked out of our experience. When we lost Taylor, I remember Todd and I looking for others, groups, an organization that understood the grief of being a donor family. And we couldn't find it. Because really the grief of a donor family is very unique and very layered, right? I mean, you've got the grief from the sudden loss, and then you've got this silver lining of like gratitude, gratefulness that your loved one was able to save others. And it's where that grief and gratitude kind of share the same space, and it's layered and complicated. And we couldn't find anything like that. So around 2016, we started to step into this emotional support piece of the donor family. But honestly, mental health was not a thing that people really talked about around that time. It wasn't something that was in everybody's radar. And then COVID hit, and it became truly, mental health became something in this nation where it was talked about, looked for. People were wanting to receive help, and were accepting of the help, right? So our focus pivoted really at that moment, and we started our Taylor's Gift Grief Support Program. And when it launched, it started to fill a national need. And we were so excited about how, first of all, we immediately saw how needed the program was, and how quickly it was growing because of the services we were providing to donor families that really wasn't out there. And so to date, we've helped families in over 40 states and growing. And NYU Langone Health has partnered with us, and they're doing research all around our program as kind of a really good benchmark for donor family care. And so we now have not only the success of the program because of just the families that we hear from that we're helping, but we have the science behind it too, which is just
That's
absolutely
fascinating.
amazing.
I mean,
Absolutely amazing.
it's incredible, and I love all the different angles you're taking towards it, from sort of the grassroots approach of
Hmm.
recognizing need and filling that need. Also the peer-to-peer support, but then also layering in the science to really look at the mental health impacts to donor families. That's incredible, because I think one of the things you touched on quickly, so I think sort of exemplifies it. And we have people in our company who have transplant recipients who, and that's part of their mission to be helping other transplant patients. But they've spoken about, it's this interesting, very difficult thing about getting contact with the donor, because for the recipient, the anniversary of their heart transplant is, one of the happiest, anniversaries they can celebrate, but it's the hardest for the donor. Like, even that layers of grief and gratitude. I think that encapsulates it. Can you tell us about sort of that moment of meeting the recipient? Because that, I would imagine, for a lot of donor families, is extremely hard to go through that experience, or even be willing to go through that experience.
Yeah, I mean, we've been very blessed to have connected with 4 out of the 5 recipients, which I
Wow.
know is
Wow.
very rare, right? So, just about 6 months after we lost Taylor, we were able to meet her heart recipient, Patricia. And people ask us what that moment was like, and I I honestly have not been able to find the words. It's so, and bittersweet is kind of like one of those words that comes to mind, but that really doesn't even. It's
It
it's
doesn't
like
do it
such a
justice.
mix of, no, I mean, it's like such a mix of emotions of hearing your daughter's heart in someone else. There's really no words in the English language that can explain what that's like, and it's just such a mix of emotions: joy, sorrow, grief, gratefulness, anger, happiness. I mean, it's just everything just all bundled up together. And, I think people, when I share with people that we've met with 4 out of the 5 recipients, then, people ask sometimes, does that give you some peace? And I don't think we'll ever be at peace that we lost Taylor. I don't. But I have to tell you, it has given us so much strength when we meet them to know that this was the right decision for our family and for Taylor, and just the ripple effect of good that had happened, that just comes from that decision.
I really can't imagine. You're right. There's no words
Mm-mm.
for this. And so, tell me about a little bit about building. I mean, given everything you described, so hard, so challenging. How have you gone about? Yeah, I can see the need there. How have you gone out building support for donor families? Because it seems so challenging. There's so much nuance. There's so many layers to this, as you're saying.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So we receive referrals from OPO partners, from lots of word of mouth, hospitals, some hospital chaplains who are right there with the patients, with the donor families. And we have a very easy way to receive referrals. If you go to taylorsgift.org, you'll see our grief support program form, and any donor family can fill that out. It doesn't have to be referred by an organization. If you know a donor family that needs help, we're here. You fill that out, and within 24 to 48 hours, our intake specialist will reach out to the donor family and learn about their story and offer our services. And our services are completely free to the donor family for 1 year. We give them one-on-one individual support by peer professionals who are caring guides, is what we call them, our caring guides. And then we also have support groups. And our support groups are loss specific, meaning that if they've lost a child, we have a child loss group, a spouse loss group. So we have different areas because you and I both know what it's like to be around someone that can go, "Oh, I understand. I've been there," and also looking at others around you who are farther in their journey to go, "Wow, they're surviving this," and seeing them as hope, right? So we also offer Spanish speaking, which is great. Um, and we provide this one-on-one, and support groups for an entire year free of charge to the families because we never want financial constraints to be an issue. A lot of the families, majority of our families who are referred to us, are low income. Insurance doesn't cover anything. They have no way to access any sort of support in this way, and financially can't or not easy to access, and we're here. Our platform is all virtual. We do this all virtual, which really helps us. I mean, this is kind of the world we're in now. Look at
Yeah,
us now doing this
absolutely.
podcast, right? And yeah, and so it's really a beautiful way for us to reach so many families who normally would
Mhm.
never be able to have any sort of support.
How have you been able to grow? I mean, it must there's a lot of infrastructure. It sounds like in order to support the foundation and continue to grow and support more patients.
Yeah.
I think this is a wonderful mission. How have you grown and been able to support the organization?
Really, with a lot of individual support, company support, um, and we have a really large event at the end of the year, which Paragonix is part of, which is, I'll share with you that in a minute. But we do a lot of fundraising. I mean, we love to partner with organizations who really acknowledge and value the donor family. And we have a lot of individuals who support us in our mission, who believe that the service we're providing is needed and they're seeing the impact. We're also a very small organization in the sense that we have 3 full-time employees. And we have our caring guides, which are contractors for us. But every one of our caring guides and every one of our support group facilitators, every single one of them has experienced loss and grief themselves. And we think that's so important to our program because you've got to be able to walk the walk, right? It's different to be trained or certified in grief, but when you've walked it, it's a completely different feeling. You understand the despair and the hurt. And you know, Taylor's gift really has brought a lot of purpose to the pain, really. And we've grown through lots of support. And so we're in high fundraising mode because we are receiving lots of donor family referrals. So it's really important for us to get out there and let people know about our mission and just opportunities like this. I mean, just thank you so much for having me on so others will know about our mission to support donor families in their grief and the service we're providing.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think one of the things that it is so impactful and it is so profound, particularly the way you're structured to have people who've experienced loss providing the support and the grief support. Um, I'm really curious. You had mentioned about that NYU Langone applied research effort that you're working on. I'm really curious about that. My team does a lot of medical research for our systems. It's can be challenging to do medical research in a space where things aren't as quantifiable. And so, can you tell me a little bit about how that research project is going and what that looks like?
The Center for Surgical and Transplant Applied Research team have really joined us, and we feel very honored with this collaboration. And they have done research around the efficacy about our program, and what they have found is that 86% of our participants report reduced grief symptoms, 79% report reduced anxiety symptoms, and 76% report reduced depression symptoms. So our program is being very effective.
Mhm.
So we're very excited about this collaboration and learning about the research about our program, and the efficacy. And we found great statistics that were reported at ATC and AOPO about the program, and just the value of it and the service that we're providing is working throughout the nation. And it's their research that is really showing that valuable portion of the science.
I'm really curious. Your whole foundation is focused on supporting these families in grief. Is there anything you could advise if you ever knew someone who was a family going through something like this, going through donation, of a way to support a friend, a family member who's going through this?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question because, it's hard to be friends with someone who's going through something like this and grieving in such a horrible way. And so, um, I'll give a little story. Um, so there was a woman in our community who was kind of outside of our friend circle that after we lost Taylor, she just rang our doorbell out of the blue, rang our doorbell. And when I answered it, she said these words to me. She said, "I don't know what to say. I just want to let you know I'm here." That was the most impactful sentence anybody could say to me, because when someone is going through grief, it's so easy to feel like I'm not going to say something because I'm going to say the wrong thing. And then they end up not saying anything at all. And that actually is even harder for the person walking through grief, because grief is already so lonely already. And when people start avoiding the topic and conversation because they don't want to say the wrong thing, from someone who has walked that, just try. And I always use my friend Daniela, who showed up at the door, as just show up. Just show up, even if it's hard, and be able to sit with that person and say, "I don't know what to say, but I want to let you know I'm here." Because it's okay to not know what to say. But I would just always encourage people to show up, because it's your human instinct is to kind of back off and like, I'm going to leave them alone and I'm not going to say anything, when really it's okay to just show up. Like, that was just the most impactful moment that really has made me a better friend to others going on, and not just in grief, but just in any hard time, right? Just to show up, because it's hard to do, but you've got to be able to do that for somebody, because staying away, I think, makes it a lot harder.
That is incredible advice, and I love it. Just to be able to just show up and be there for someone. You don't have to solve the problem. You don't have to
Right,
avoid the problem. Just be there.
right, right. Because people, I think, when you're going through something like this, they kind of want to fix you in a way and make everything better and make everything okay. And it's not okay for the person who's going through that, right? It's just not. And so being able to kind of just step in that space with them and just say, "I'm here and I love you," you know? The question we always got is, just tell me what you need. We don't know what we need, right? I don't know what we need. I want my daughter back is what I need, but I'm not going to get that. And so just being able to sit with somebody and hear them say something like that, and being okay with the uncomfortable, is really, it's tough to do, but I would highly recommend you try.
I guess going forward, you're expanding, you're impacting more donor families. You're showing, you're doing this research to show the impacts to the donor families. It's getting presented and published. That's amazing. What are your hopes for the future of the foundation in 2025 and beyond?
Gosh, I really just hope that when there's ever a donor family, who is in need of this grief support, that we are the first organization thought of within the donation community. Knowing that we're there as this resource, we want to be known as that. That's the first organization thought of to help these donor families in their darkest hour is Taylor's Gift. That's my hope and dream.
That is an incredible goal, and wish you all the best on that. And to help expand your mission, you're have an event coming up a little bit later this year. We're certainly excited about it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, y'all are part of this. Paragonix is part of this, which we're very excited. This is our large annual fundraiser. It is not your typical gala kind of thing. We play Singo Bingo. So what that means is that we play bingo, which is Singo Bingo, which is bingo combined with Name That Tune from songs of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And it is a blast. I mean, the attire is Casual Friday. We have great family style food, and it is just a ball. And I tell you what, a lot of people get very excited about these songs that they'll grab the microphone, and lots of people I didn't even know could sing can really sing. And so it is such a fun event, and we've got bingo prizes, and so we're almost sold out. We completely sold out last year, and I think we only have 3 tables left at this point.
Oh, wow. So get your tables while you can if you're in the Dallas area. That is fantastic. What an amazing event, and such a joyful event too, to celebrate the impact to donor lives.
Exactly. And we thought about that. Because what we do is hard. We're walking with people in grief, right? But we also give them hope, and that's what we're going to celebrate. And we celebrate that.
That is absolutely wonderful. Well, Tara, thank you so much for making time today. I think your story and Taylor's story are such an important part of the transplantation story, and so I really appreciate you sharing it. As a parent, it's got to be hard to have these conversations. It has to be difficult to share, but I'm in awe of what you've done to turn it into something so positive and so impactful.
Thank you. And, I appreciate all you do too. Just the value that you give to the donor family at Paragonix is very impressive. That is something that I think comes from your leadership. And just to be able to really care for that gift of life from a donor family's perspective is amazing. So thank you.
Thank you for that. It's truly, it comes straight from our CEO who founded the company. It was a real passion to make sure every gift's honored and we can provide as much care as possible to it. So
I appreciate that.
Well, I truly appreciate your mission. I appreciate you spending the time today. And if anyone wants to get more involved or support Taylor's Gift, go to taylorsgift.org. Join in, help the mission, and help spread awareness of support for donor families. Thank you so much for joining us again, Tara. And we'll see you next time on Every Possible Angle.